Hi, guys, this is Lily,
And this is Clover,
and you're listening to.
all the tea we cannot sip.
Uh, we're back at it again. I'm really excited this week. We're continuing on controversial topics. I'm really excited. We're going to go into music, we're going to go into controversial pop culture moments, and
Books,
books.
controversial outfits.
Yes.
I'm excited too.
Uh, I want to start with music because I actually, I don't know why I started listening to this song again a couple weeks ago. And then when I was doing research about it, it was on the list of most controversial music videos, and it's Madonna's Like a Prayer, and that's my favorite Madonna song.
I hate Madonna, but I know she has so many hits.
She does. I really don't like Madonna much either, but I do love Like a Prayer. Just I don't know. It reminds me of middle school, which is weird because it came out way before we were ever in middle school. But
Mm-hmm.
I, yeah, I can't name another Madonna song that I like, but that one is my favorite. So it's not that great to say it's my favorite Madonna song because I don't like any of her other songs, but also I do love this song a lot.
It's really not bad. Um, I vaguely remember because the music video came out before we were even born, but I vaguely remember hearing about it. And wasn't it like, didn't people say it was like satanic or something? Tell me more about it.
Yes, so it was condemned by the Vatican and the Pope because in, okay, I'm reading this from Wikipedia for the Like a Prayer song, but it says, portrays Madonna witnessing a young white woman being killed by a group of white men while a black man is arrested for the murder. Madonna hides in a church for safety, seeking strength to go forth as a witness. The video depicts a church and Catholic symbols such as stigmata. It also features the Ku Klux Klan burning crosses and a dream about kissing a black saint.
I did not know that part.
Yeah.
Interesting. So it was kind of like a mini movie, like it told a story. It wasn't just being controversial to be controversial.
It was definitely, it is a very long song. It's almost 6 minutes long. Um, so it was telling this story. And I also think it was controversial because we also talked about this last week in other controversies that it was a white woman kissing a portrayal of a black saint. And I I just feel like a lot of modern religion, they portray Jesus and his, you know, his saints and disciples as other white men. And if you look at where Jesus is from, he was probably not white.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's a good point.
And
And why couldn't a black person be a saint? It's not
exactly.
like saints aren't made anymore. The Pope still gives people sainthood.
Oh, let me see what I need to do that.
I think we're already screwed.
I know. We need to
Too
maybe
late for us.
maybe we can become dames by the king. I don't know if I want that title. If the queen was still alive, I'd take it. But do you have to be British to be knighted?
I don't think so,
Because
but good question.
I feel like there's some Australian people that are knighted, but I don't know.
Let's see. And is it only the UK that knights people?
Yeah, because there are monarchs in other countries.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
So from what I'm seeing, it says not necessarily, but it's rarer.
Yeah, I could see that. Because I feel like the
And it
people,
says there's a list of Americans who are honorary British knights and dames. So maybe they don't give you the full title, which sucks.
yeah,
Yeah,
they,
because now that you mention it, I can't think of one who's not British.
yeah, I think that a lot of the people that are knighted and damed, is that the correct word? I don't know what the correct word
Yeah,
is.
I think so. I don't know.
The verb for being a dame is, I think they have done a lot for the image of Britain
Mm-hmm.
and, you know, also charitable acts for Britain. So that makes sense because I don't know many Americans that are just going over to Britain and, you know, starting orphanages.
Yes. Yep, it looks like if you're not British, you're called an honorary knight or dame, which Steven Spielberg is apparently one of them as of 2001.
Wow. Was he the last one?
No, it's not in order, so I'm not
Oh,
sure who the latest one was. Bono is too. He's Irish, right?
yes.
Bill and Melinda Gates,
Interesting.
Ralph Lauren. Come on. Okay, that is stupid.
That is stupid. I mean, better than Tommy Hilfiger. Also controversial, Tommy Hilfiger.
Rudy Giuliani and Michael Bloomberg. I'm done. Phone thrown. Now I think it's just about having money.
That's true. Ah, and also, um, the Vatican also boycotted Pepsi when Like a Prayer came out because Madonna was doing a campaign for Pepsi, so they canceled the sponsorship and Madonna still got
Oh
to keep
my
$5 million.
gosh. I'm glad the Vatican doesn't really have that kind of pull nowadays.
I know. Because this was in 1989 when Like a Prayer came out. It was released in September of 1988 and then released in March of 1989. So
Hmm.
that's so crazy. The
I had a Madonna song on my list too that was considered very controversial. It came out 3 years before Like a Prayer and is tame in comparison, in my opinion, but Papa Don't Preach, which is about um assuming so a teenage girl getting pregnant and telling her dad, I'm gonna keep my baby. And in so
I
many movies and television shows since then, it makes me think of Glee.
yes. Oh, I love Glee. I did. I watched Glee after it was over, but still iconic. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I love the Kelly Osbourne version of Papa Don't Preach.
Yeah, I do too. I don't think Kelly Osbourne's music gets enough praise, but I like a lot of her songs. I mean, they all seems like all the ones I like are covers though.
Yeah, there was a Kelly Osbourne song that Ozzy Osbourne sang on that I really, really loved when I heard it.
Oh, coming home, I think.
I think so, and it's so good.
Was it one of his songs that they turned into a duet?
I think so. I think it was Changes.
Oh, yes. Yes, you're right.
Yes, that one. Oh,
So good.
because I think they did that as a duet around the time the Osbournes was on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember listening to that around that time because we loved the Osbournes.
I did. I think when we read Prince Harry's book, The Spare, we talked about how, after his mom died, he kind of made this fantasy that she wasn't really dead and like she went into hiding because of the paparazzi, and how that's really common for people who lose somebody. And I was 2 when my mom died. And I totally had that fantasy too, like, she's not really dead. Maybe she's just in witness protection or something. And I had this fantasy in middle school that Ozzy Osbourne knocked her up at a concert and he was my real dad and I was gonna go live with him.
Which, hey, love Ozzy Osbourne, but he doesn't have the cleanest record of staying faithful, so
Right?
it could have happened.
My mom was a rocker. She was a metalhead. Uh, and I think just watching that show, it seemed like the perfect life. Like they always had their friends over and they could cuss and get tattoos at 16 and do whatever the hell they wanted. And it seemed awesome. And now that an adult, I'm like, no, they definitely had issues.
Yes, I was gonna say that. I'm like, to me, it seemed like they were dysfunctional, but at least they had money. So,
That
it,
does make life easier.
yes, like they say, money doesn't buy happiness, but it's more comfortable to cry in a Bentley than on a bike.
Or the city bus.
Oh, God. You have never experienced anything till you're bawling on a city bus.
Oh gosh, right? It really humbles a lady.
It does. Oh
I
gosh.
totally forgot that Kelly Osbourne did Papa Don't Preach. But yeah, and it's funny because some people didn't like the song because they thought it was like glorifying teen pregnancy and yada yada. But then other people didn't like it because they thought it had an anti-abortion message, like, no, I'm keeping my baby. So it's like she couldn't win.
No, and oh, I just hate that because just because you sing about something doesn't mean it's glamorizing something that's already happening. It's not
Right.
making more people want to do it. It's, showing what's already happening.
Although there are I agree with that, but I also have seen multiple teenagers who said they watched Teen Mom on MTV and then got pregnant because they thought they would get on the show.
Yeah,
Like,
that's a
how'd
little
that
bit
work out for you?
and that's a little bit different, I think, because that is glamorizing teen pregnancy to other teenagers to be on MTV. And I know when I was a teenager, I wanted to be on MTV. So I do think there is a difference between Papa Don't Preach and Teen Mom, even though that's controversial to say, because I think it is controversial to say, but
Mm-hmm.
I think it's true that Teen Mom and 16 and Pregnant definitely glamorized being on TV and being pregnant as a
We need to
teenager.
do a Teen Mom episode.
Oh, I've never watched Teen Mom. I only watched 16 and Pregnant.
Oh
Like,
shit.
yes.
Oh my God. I just might have to make a video and show you all the good stuff. I bet I could fit all the good stuff in an hour.
And I do know a lot about Teen Mom because I don't live under a rock. And one of the Teen Moms is around from where I live. And,
Mm.
uh, which is kind of crazy because I'll like drive past and be like, that's where that person went to school. Like, it's weird, but also I'm kind of detached, but I do know enough about like Teen Mom, the original. I know, not Teen Mom 2.
See, and Teen Mom 2 has their unique flavor too, but it is, oh man, yeah. I'll put that on the back burner.
And then I was confused. This confused me. Okay, so Teen Mom OG, they brought on Cheyenne. Um, but she was on the challenge. She's not from 16 and Pregnant. How is she on Teen Mom?
Cheyenne, long brown hair.
Short, yeah, she does have dark. She had a baby with Corey, also from the challenge. They were on X on the Beach, I think. No,
Hmm.
not X on the Beach. They were on Are You the One? It was a
Oh, yeah, I
dating
don't
show.
know her.
Yeah, she's like on the Teen Mom OG.
That's stupid. It's like
I
they're
know,
just trying to get more views.
I know, because people, I don't
By
even think,
definition, you're not an OG.
I know. That's what I said. Like they're from another MTV show.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Weird.
and then probably the most controversial Madonna song to wrap up Madonna, Justify My Love, which came out in 1990. It was actually banned on MTV and had to be released on VHS as a single.
I don't think I know that one. I'm looking it up right now.
It was produced by Lenny Kravitz. So I thought that was cool because I Lenny Kravitz is pretty cool in my book. Um, but it's considered one of the sexiest videos of all time.
Wow.
Yes.
Huh. And I bet you by today's standards, it would be fine. Because as I'm looking at the lyrics, they don't seem bad. I want to kiss you in Paris. I want to hold your hand in Rome. I want to run naked in a rainstorm, make love in a train cross country. Oh,
Uh,
but then it does say moaning in in parentheses.
uh, it it does say that it it says when MTV programming executives got their first look at the video's steamy bed scenes, gay and lesbian snuggling, S&M, and briefly bared female breasts, they decided they could not air it. So
Oh, that's funny.
it features like a threesome, it features gay and lesbian sex, it features voyeurism and S&M, and I think I don't think the song would have been controversial without the music video, even with the
I'm
moaning.
I'm fast forwarding through the music video, and I feel like if it was released today, it would be fine. I mean, look at WAP,
Yeah.
Anaconda.
And
The thong song had way more asses in it than this video, but let's keep in context, it was the 80s, and even just showing a gay couple was controversial.
yeah,
Oh,
especially not like a polyamorous, you know,
yeah.
group.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right. That I mean, props to Madonna for, you know, breaking barriers, but it's not my cup
Mm-hmm.
of tea. Besides
Yeah,
like a
she really
prayer.
did pave the way for a lot of music artists, and I do think that a lot of her videos and a lot of her performances were meant to be controversial, but she kind of did it first.
Yeah.
Speaking of thruples, I was pleased to see over the weekend that Garrett Watts also hearts Hassan Piker's thirst traps on Instagram, so that just might be my thruple future.
Honestly, goals. Eye candy and then Garrett Watts is one of the funniest humans alive.
Right? I'll have the big arms and the Harry Potter buddy.
I know you need somebody that will run around in a wizard robe with you, like in the
Hell yeah.
backyard, because what's life if you can't be
On
authentically
our
yourself?
vibrating Nimbus 2000s.
Yes. Uh,
Check out our last video where we talked about controversial toys. That was one of them.
oh, oh
So that
goodness.
was Madonna. One of the most controversial songs I can think of came out in 1988, NWA's Fuck the Police, written by Ice Cube. Um, and it was very controversial. I remember seeing videos of them performing it in concert, and there were tons of police there because they were so sure that it was going to cause a riot. And this was written and put out during times where, especially in Los Angeles, there was a lot of police brutality in the news, and a lot of people were speaking out about it, and a lot of people were purposefully not speaking out about it. And that's one thing I like about a lot of music in general is I think it is like poetic and a lot of it does have a message. And Ice Cube definitely, I don't think he was trying to be controversial. I feel like it was healing and he was trying to make change and talk about police brutality and racism and being profiled for being a person of color.
Yeah, it was a statement really saying that, we see what's going on and
Mm-hmm.
it's it's heartbreaking.
It
But also
is.
I'm glad it's out there and I'm glad, that it makes people uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, you know, like any other art, sometimes the best art does make us feel uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And it made people so uncomfortable. They even NWA's producers even got a letter from the FBI. Not that the FBI could do anything about it because it is free speech. They weren't trying to incite riots. But it is pretty funny when you see a crowd of thousands of people just saying fuck the police, fuck the
Yeah.
police.
Yes.
Um and I find it interesting and kind of connected these two that that song came out in 1988. And to me, it's kind of tame compared to 1992 when Ice-T released Cop Killer.
Oh, I don't know if I've heard that, but I love Ice-T.
Mm-hmm.
He's sexy.
He's talking about how he's got his black gloves on, his ski mask on. This shit's been too long. I got my 12 gauge sawed off. I got my headlights turned off. I'm about to bust some shots off. I'm about to dust some cops off. And
Well,
it just says cop killer, better you than me. Cop killer, fuck police brutality. Cop killer, I know your family's grieving. Fuck 'em. Cop killer, tonight we get even.
oh,
So that's obviously more controversial, but same thing, it is art.
exactly.
Sex sells better than politics, I guess.
It does. People would rather, you know, they're going to be mad either way. But if
Mm-hmm.
it's not political, then they're just able to just, you know, be mad just because.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of, I feel like, especially nowadays, when people are outraged at something, it's usually because they sound like a bigot when they
Right.
when they're mad about it.
I agree. And I do think the powers that be, especially in, NWA's case and Ice-T's case, I think music and movies and television and stuff really can create change. Um, and it's powerful. But I do think there are a lot of people in power who benefit from suppressing expression through music because I think music can be so powerful to make change, especially it seems like it's women, people of color, or gay people that get the most hate. And you're right, it does show that people are just benefiting from being bigots.
I know because people were so upset about like Lil Nas X and his music video for Montero, Call Me by Your Name,
That's
which
exactly what came to my mind when you were talking about like just like a prayer.
and I love that song. I love that music video. And
Mm-hmm.
people were also upset that, Sam Smith and Kim Petras won a Grammy for being, a gay man and a trans woman. But whatever, I can't remember. He's like on tour right now, this country star, like openly said the N-word, and his tickets are like for the worst seats are like $500.
What?
Yeah. Let me find his name. I can't remember. I don't listen to that music, but I was talking to a coworker who wanted to get tickets to that, and I was like,
Ugh.
isn't that the guy that said the N-word?
Yeah, I don't remember hearing about that, but you're so right about Lil Nas X. That's exactly what came to my mind too. And I feel like Montero, it's satire. That music video is meant to be funny. It's like, this is what you guys think I do just because I'm gay. He's like making fun of the bigots. And this is the same society that loved him a year or two earlier when he was doing Old Town Road with Billy Ray Cyrus.
Yeah, and
It's the same guy.
I'm sorry, but especially I think it's hilarious that a gay man is going to take what he's been told his whole life that you're going to hell, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and making it into something amazing.
Yeah,
Like it
I
is sad.
know. Like, yeah, I'm gonna go to hell and give Satan a lap dance.
Yes, so it's Morgan Wallen. He was on The Voice. But
Oh.
he's like really big now. But it says a video surfaced of him in 2021 using a racial slur. And his tickets are still $500, like Taylor Swift level. Like,
That's crazy.
I know.
I mean, no offense if our listeners like him, but
But you
I
do
do
have
mean
to,
offense if you also don't like Lil Nas X.
yes, and you have to see both sides of the spectrum. Yes, this man may be talented, but he is not getting half as much hate as he should when other people are just living their lives and telling their truths.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I don't even think on accident is a reason to say a racial slur. If you say it when you're drunk or if you're stoned, it means it lives somewhere within you.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And that's just my piece on that.
Dang.
Oh,
Do you have more music that was controversial that was
I
really memorable?
do. It was on a list of top 5 most controversial music videos was Stan by Eminem.
Yes, that was on mine too.
AmericanSongwriter.com on the list of top 5 most controversial music videos of all time. I love Stan, and it it released a whole, you know, thing of even people saying they stan somebody or
Yes, he created the word.
yes, and yeah, I can get why it's controversial because it depicts, you know, domestic violence and
Yes.
it depicts murder. But I also think it's another one of those things. It's art. It's what somebody thought of in their head, like a painting.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it.
I do think it's very disturbing, and I was disturbed with it when we were kids and were listening to it. But it is very catchy. And then he has Dido come in, and it sounds all nice. And it does tell a story. You're right. It's like um trapped in the closet.
Yes.
Like people took it to mean he had those feelings against Kim, his ex, and well, on and off wife back then. But I didn't take it that way. There's never been, to my knowledge, accusations of him abusing her. I thought it was the other way around, where she got arrested for domestic violence, but maybe I'm wrong about that. But I'm like, is it any different than I remember writing poetry in high school about like really fucked up stuff. I'm not even gonna say.
Well,
But it was
that
just art.
yes, that's what I was gonna say. It's not any worse than some of the books we've read.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's not. It's just
Like
a different way.
Verity.
Yes, it's just a different way to, put your art out there, which I
Mm-hmm.
do. Verity is a really good book. I was hoodwinked by Colleen Hoover because Verity was so good and so disturbing that all of her other books kind of fell flat.
I agree. I wish I hadn't have read Verity first because it did make the rest of her books not as good. But then you introduced me to Gone Girl and what's that other one?
Sharp objects.
Sharp Objects, and you're so right. A lot of books, especially thrillers and stuff, and we're going to get to the book section too, is very disturbing. I recently read All the Ugly and Wonderful Things by Bryn. I can't remember her last name off the top of my head, but I'll put a picture on the video. And I was telling you, it was probably the best book I've read so far this year, but it was also incredibly disturbing. Like some parts made me feel so icky. Um, but it's a book.
Yeah. And
It's not based on a true story. I mean, terrible things happen in real life. They do. And are we going to pretend that they don't?
exactly. And I just hate that some, things are praised for being uncomfortable, but then some things are, belittled or
Mm-hmm.
diminished almost. Uh,
Yeah, who picks and chooses?
exactly. The Vatican.
Well, and you're right. Like, and that got pulled because of advertisers. A lot of it comes down to money.
Yeah, the FCC.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But yeah, Stan is so iconic. And you're so right. That song created a whole slang term that people use to this day. Like, I stan you.
I do. I stan you. And I stan our listeners.
Yes, we do. So, one of the most controversial bands that I can think of, and I hope we're not introducing one, I hope we're not aging ourselves, and two, I hope we're not introducing this band to people and now they're going to get new listeners. But ICP, Insane Clown Posse.
I My dirtiest secret is that I do like ICP. I don't like the
Oh,
band, but I like the music. That is my dirtiest secret ever.
okay, so what's your favorite song of theirs? I'm going to read the lyrics.
Probably Fat Sweaty Betty.
Oh gosh, I do remember that one. See, I never would have even listened to them, but one of my neighbors, she had a brother who was 2 years older than us, and he always had his friends over because they were like, it was the house where her mom never supervised us and always had food because they had good food stamps and they would smoke weed and stuff, which I did not participate in. But a lot of her brother's friends were cute, so I was there a lot. And they were freaking juggalos. Juggalos are people who follow Insane Clown Posse and they would listen to it. So unfortunately, I know way too many of those songs by heart. But Fat Sweaty Betty. So Fat Sweaty Betty, that bitch ain't nothing new. Her ma used to babysit me back when we was two. We drove to the playground and to the skating rink, then we'd go into their bleachers and she'd let me hit the stank.
I actually the first time I ever heard ICP was at that person's house, and I went to school with some people who were juggalos that I didn't really hang out with, but I think one of my friends had a crush on one of them, and he came to my birthday party one year.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was around other people that listened to it, but if you ever see the show Workaholics, there's a really funny part where they have to like chase down their coworker and she ends up at an ICP festival and
Oh no.
Rebel Wilson is in it and she's dressed up like a juggalo and it is hilarious.
Oh my
I
God.
will get a picture for the podcast on YouTube so that we can show that. I love that show. It was so funny on Comedy Central, but it ICP is very controversial. And they also, I remember I went to Oklahoma and I was in a gas station and I saw Fago, which is like the brand that ICP really loves, or I don't know if they sponsored ICP at one point, but I was like, I have to try this. Girl, it was trash. It was gross. I
Uh,
took one sip, I threw it away. I
uh.
was so disappointed because I had heard about it for 10 plus 15 years and it was disgusting. And I don't know any other place that sells it besides in Oklahoma.
Oh, okay, I'm trying to think of what songs of theirs I remember. Chicken hunting, maybe?
Yeah, you
Let
did
me
not
see.
like that song.
Oh, you remember me not liking it?
Yes. You
Okay,
said it was creepy.
let's open up a bad memory. Let's see. Well, I'm heading down a southern trail. I'm going chicken hunting, chopping redneck chicken necks. I ain't saying nothing to the hillbilly stuck my barrel in his eye. Boom shaka, here jumps in the sky. Slice, poke, chop, chop, stab, cut. What can you do with a drunken hillbilly? Cut his fucking eyes out and feed them to his Aunt Millie. Oh yeah, that's pretty gross.
It is
Blood, guts,
gross.
fingers, and toes. Blood, guts, fingers, and toes. Thankfully, it's not ringing a bell. So
Oh, I think if you heard the melody, it would, because it's like
I know.
dark.
Sadly, I feel like, yeah, if I heard ICP songs, once I heard the tune, I would remember all the lyrics. Ugh. But yeah, looks like they still have a following, which is pretty crazy because they started in 1989. I'm surprised they're still alive. They look like they live rough.
I know, which they had a beef with Eminem at one point. I don't know if they still do, but I just remember that when we were growing up because I was like, I can't like ICP. I like Eminem.
Yeah, if you have to choose, you're on the right side at least.
Yes. Ugh. So I will never admit liking ICP to anybody in real life besides you.
And our listeners, all
Yes,
three of you.
but I do like some of the music just because you know I like shocking things.
I was
So,
gonna say, so explain to me, what do you like about it? Is it's the fact that it's like shocking lyrics? Does it like, is it funny to you?
yeah, it's funny. I
Hmm.
think shocking things are funny usually. Like
Mm-hmm.
not shocking like something real shocking, but lyrics, I think that's funny.
Hmm. Well, this is someone I know you like. Another controversial song, which I do like this one. I didn't when you first sent it to me, but WAP, It's Grown on Me by Nicki Minaj. Very controversial.
WAP is Cardi B.
Oh, is it really?
Is it? I might have to cut that out, but now I'm thinking it might be. Yeah, I
Oh,
know it's
you're
ne
right. You're right.
Yeah.
I'm just old.
Oh, no, that's okay. I was like, after I said that, I was like, I think I'm disassociating right now. I can't remember. But it's
Oops.
Megan the Stallion too. Ugh, I love. I think Cardi B is hilarious. She's shocking. It's funny. Um,
Yeah.
but I think WAP is just so great because how many songs are there, especially from when we were in high school, about men getting their dick sucked and
Yes.
about, getting all the hoes. And I think it's so great that a woman put something out and she's like, yeah, bring a bucket and a mop. Like, uh,
Well, and it is controversial. It's very graphic lyrics. Um, let's see. Beat it up, baby. Catch a charge. Extra large and extra hard. Put this cookie right in your face. Swipe your nose like a credit card. Hop on top. I want to ride. I do a kegel. I'm kind of wild. Look at my mouth. Look at my thighs. The water is wet. Come take a dive. But you're right, because we grew up in a time where, till the sweat drops down my balls, all these bitches crawl. Yeah, all
Yeah.
the songs were about bitches and
Shake that
yeah, getting
monkey,
your D
ho.
sucked and
Like, I love Too Short and I love Shake That Monkey, but I'm just saying it should be equal. We should
and yeah,
be,
you're right. And Cardi B, Nicki Minaj, they are definitely tipping the scales.
yes, because Nicki Minaj has Anaconda, and that was very
Mm-hmm.
controversial when that came out in the music video. And I'm like, yes,
Yes.
why not?
Yeah, it's true.
Uh, I was gonna bring up this one because it was very, very catchy when it came out, and it was everywhere. And then I think people began having they there was more of a problem with it as time went, which I'm glad, but Blurred Lines
Oh,
by Robin.
that's a song that I loved, and I think it took me years to actually listen to the lyrics better.
Yes, me too, because I listen to it a lot, but some of the lyrics are
And I would still
very,
dance to it. That's the thing about a lot of controversial songs is they're so catchy.
yes. Okay, and then so it starts saying, okay, now he was close, tried to domesticate you, but you're an animal. Baby, it's in your nature. Just let me liberate you. You don't need no takers. That man is not your maker. And that's why I'm gonna take a good girl. I know you want it. I know you want it. And then basically it's like blurring the lines of, like this woman has a man, and he's like, well, you're your own woman. You can come and get this. And
And I feel like it could also be seen as like a girl, and maybe he's talking about her dad. Like, it could be grooming,
oh, that's
like a
true.
good girl.
Ugh,
Like, I'm gonna take a good girl and make her bad.
I hope no, one person has ever said good girl to me, and I was highly offended. So if some guy was trying to hit on me and said that, I would walk away.
Little different in the BDSM world.
Well, yeah, I was at a job interview.
No.
Yes, at
I
a
thought you
car.
meant in the bedroom. I'm
No,
sorry.
no, at a car
Totally different.
dealership. Yeah. So it would be different if it was in the right context, but not just some random person I don't know. Um,
I'm like 50 Shades of Grey me.
yes. But if it was somebody I didn't know and like at a bar and they're like, "You look like a good girl," and I'm like, no.
Oh, I
Actually, I
dare
have
them.
had somebody say that to me that I did not know. Actually, once was at a job interview, once I worked at the mall and somebody was trying to hit on me and they're like, "You look like a good girl. Like, I want to like do dirty things to you or something like that." And I'm like, "Who
Ugh,
walks up to a stranger and says that at their
desperate
place of business?"
losers.
Yes, I was
Knowing
working.
you can't clock off and get away from him.
I worked in a kiosk. I couldn't even walk to the back.
Right?
To hide, I had to sit on
Pathetic.
the floor and they could just look over. Like, I'm gonna take the elevator down now.
Mm, that's terrible.
Yes.
I hate people sometimes.
I know. But also it makes funny stories. So,
Oh, it sure does.
but at the time I'm just like, "Oh my God, please let me leave. Just go away." Like,
Well, and I feel like there were a few times in high school when we were trying to even the playing field, and I remember us driving around and hollering at guys.
yes.
Which I feel a little bad about that now, but it's happened to us way more times than we ever did it to other people. But I'm like, they need to see what it's like too when they're just trying to mind their own business and we're
I know.
hollering out the window at them. Or I remember going through the drive-through and Not even ordering anything, just driving right through and flashing.
I remember that too.
Shame on us.
Oh, who cares? It was
Statute of limitations, right? We're good.
youthful indiscretions.
Well, I had no more controversial music. I mean, we could talk about it forever, but those were the big ones.
Yes, there are so many, but I think the ones we talked about were great. And what's next on the agenda?
I would love to talk about some controversial books because you and I are such big bookworms.
Yes, this podcast, if you haven't listened to the first one or this is your first one, our podcast is a play on words off of a book title called All the Light We Cannot See. We
Still one
love
of the best
books.
books I've ever read. I still am like, it's like my Moby Dick. I'm searching for that book that is as good as All the Light We Cannot See.
Yes, it is. Oh, I think for one of the books that I found, which is one of the books you know I have loved forever, but at one time, The Diary of Anne Frank was a banned book.
And books are so interesting, and books have been banned for decades, if not centuries. Um, and it is so fascinating, like what people get up in arms about. Like, what is wrong with Anne Frank?
It says it was banned for pornographic passages.
I remember one part where she talked about masturbating or fantasizing or something, and she was a teenage girl. And I remember reading that book in seventh grade, and the boy I had a crush on, the first boy I ever danced with and gave me stuff on Valentine's Day, he did a book report on that, and that's what he chose to focus on. And the teacher called him out. She was like, "Really? This was a diary about a girl who was trying to survive the Holocaust, and she had maybe one page about that, and that's what you chose to focus on." And she called him out so bad. And I was like such a nerdy teacher's pet that I never talked to him after that. I totally ghosted him because I
Well,
was secondhand embarrassed.
well, good for the teacher for saying something because
Yes.
one, it was written by a teenage girl, and two, it was her diary. She did not think any, but
Mm-hmm.
it was millions upon millions of people were going to read it.
Right.
If you knew somebody was going to read your diary, would you not edit it?
Right.
And there's just so much that you can take from that that she didn't believe that all people were bad while she was living in an attic trying not to be murdered by Hitler.
Mm-hmm. She still managed to find like beauty in the mundane and to hope. She spent, because it was years they were in hiding.
Hmm.
And she did die in a concentration camp eventually. And yeah, for people to ban that or try to bury it, I don't know. I don't want to get conspiratorial either, but there are people who think a lot of people are trying to rewrite history and make the Holocaust either forgotten or um, m- be seen as not that bad. And
Oh
it
my
was.
gosh. It was horrific. And I know she talks about like menstruation in it for like a page like the previous
Hmm.
two. That's normal. Every
Right.
girl will experience that someday.
Yes.
And to talk about it's like saying like, oh, that's being said. It's just telling young girls like there's something to be ashamed of.
And
When it
yet, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret is praised. And you told me they just made a movie out of it.
I know, I saw a poster for it at the movies when I went this weekend. I was like, I want to see it because I love Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. And it's like a girl that like prays for her period.
Oh my God. That was the only talk I ever got. And my grandma didn't even talk about it with me. She just said, read this book. And I've always been a voracious reader, but sometimes I mix words up, especially when I don't know what a word means. That's normal for kids. And I remember going to her because she thought I was just going to read this book and she would never have to talk to me about anything. And I asked her, what's a pyramid? Like, I didn't understand why these girls wanted their pyramid.
Oh, that's cute.
She's like, it says period. I'm like, okay, that doesn't clear anything up. Period goes at the end of a sentence.
Exact. I didn't get to talk either. I remember when I got my period, my mom cried, and that was it. She didn't talk to me about anything.
What?
Yeah,
Jeez.
she just like took me to Safeway and was like, "These are pads, but I don't like ones with wings, so we're not getting those." And I love
God,
wings.
me too.
I need them. I move so much when I sleep, but yeah. I was camping with my parents' friends when I got my period, so my mom wasn't even there.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's terrible.
I know because tell me why I hung out with my parents' friends who were
Without
old.
your parents.
Yeah, they were old people too. Like they didn't have kids my age. All their kids were grown. Like, but I was a quiet kid, a good kid that would help, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably why. It was to get out of the house and
Exactly.
I mean it
And
would
they would actually give you attention and act like they wanted to be around you.
yeah, and it was better than being left at home alone.
Mm-hmm.
So I enjoyed it. I can't say anything about that. I just, now that I'm an adult, I'm like, I wouldn't send my child to my friend's house that wasn't my best friend.
Well, and but they were like your parents' best friends, you know, but looking back, we know they were more like their drinking buddies.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like they met them at
Yeah,
bars.
right.
Like
Yikes.
there's some people I would send my child to, but they're also not my drinking buddies. So I guess that's
Mm-hmm.
where I the line is not blurred for me. But
Mm-hmm.
I'll be here all night.
Yeah. Well, Diary of Anne Frank is still such a good book. I need to reread it.
You actually bought me a copy, and I
Mm-hmm.
have it.
And I still have one. Actually, I think I have the one that I stole from my seventh grade class.
How's a poor kid gonna get books?
Right? When no one will take you to the frickin' library.
Yeah. Or you get to go like one time and then your parents never take the books back. And so you can't go ever again until you're an adult.
Oh my God.
Oh,
Terrible. Don't even get me started. Um, let's see. Is a book that I think should be controversial. But it also still has like a cult following to this day. In 1955, the book Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov came out. And I haven't read it because I don't know how I'm gonna feel if I read it, but also I know that it's considered such a classic that I want to see what all the fuss is about. But I do know that it's about a man who falls for a 12-year-old girl and the grooming and sexual relationship they eventually have.
yeah. I have heard of Lolita and I haven't read it either. Maybe I will. Maybe that's my goal for this year is to read it. Because I don't
Mm-hmm.
know how I will feel either.
Mm-hmm.
Because yes, I do believe some things art should make you feel uncomfortable, but also I'll choose what makes me feel uncomfortable. I'll do
Right.
it on my own time. So I it is on a lot of lists as, a controversial book or a banned book in some places, but there now that you said it, now I'm like, I want to see what all the hype is too.
Right. Like, and unless you really read it, it's hard to say. Like, does it glorify this kind of thing? Um, or, and some people think, did the author have these feelings himself and he was just using fiction to express it, which we can't really know. Um, I guess people would have come out if he had done that to them, and I honestly don't know about that. But when I think of controversial books, that's one of the first ones I think of.
Yeah, that's true. I guess uh, I guess before this I wouldn't have been able to really say any books that were controversial besides, things that have been more recent. But I do want to see what like if it's like still one of the most controversial books over the test of time, with
Right,
everything out now and stuff like that.
exactly. Because when it came out, some of the press I've read about it, some called it the filthiest book I've ever read. Others called it sheer unrestrained pornography. But this was in the 50s. I mean, oh, yeah, I just think of some graphic books I've read now that are on the bestsellers list. Like we brought up Verity, and there's this scene where someone is like sticking their fingers down the throat of an infant. That was very uncomfortable for me.
Yeah. Or she was like reading about a sexual encounter with this guy that she likes, and like she was like kind of recreating it while she was like masturbating. That was very
Yeah,
uncomfortable.
yes.
Ugh.
Yeah, but life is dark and scary and uncomfortable at moments. And I don't know, if people just wrote sunshine and rainbows all the time, what does that tell people who have lived through these things? Like your stories and your experiences aren't important?
Yeah, I was thinking about it the opposite way. Like life is scary and it's dark, and I know the things that I've lived through, and I'm just like, okay, well, I'm gonna choose to lighten my life with the things I consume, such as books and movies.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I do understand what you're saying. Like, it's validating everyone's experiences because maybe if there weren't those things, I would feel invalidated in some of the things I've experienced.
Yeah. No, you make a good point too. Like these things entertain us because maybe it does make us feel better about our lives,
Yeah. Oh,
or it's an escape.
yeah.
And things get wrapped up at the end of the book.
Yeah, which gives you hope, kind of, that
Mm-hmm.
maybe things will get better or you die.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
Yeah. And some of these books on my list might not be controversial if they weren't written at the time they were written.
Yeah.
Um, a very widely banned book that I love is The Color Purple by Alice Walker.
I love The Color Purple. That was the first, actually, that was the only Broadway show I've ever seen, but I loved the book.
Oh, I bet that was a good show. I've never seen it on in theater, but I loved that book. I've read it multiple times. It came out in 1982, and the reason it's set in like the late 1800s and early 1900s, I believe, after slavery has been abolished, but there are these African Americans who now are trying to live a life in a society that is still very repressive and segregated, and it follows. an African American woman and how she's forced to marry very young. And it has sexual scenes, spousal rape, incest rape, homosexuality, but it is actually a beautiful story and a hopeful story about survival and how she really comes to own her life and find herself and make her own way. I just love that book.
It's I'm gonna reread it this year. I haven't read it in a long time.
Oh, I'd totally reread it with you.
And it just sounds I know it's good. It doesn't sound good. I've read it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but it is so hopeful because there are parts of the book where she's not hopeful
Yes.
and she overcomes when it's not easy to do. And I just, oh, such a good story. And I believe Whoopi Goldberg is in the movie.
Yep, I think so. And isn't
Oprah.
Oprah?
Yep. I think
Yeah,
Oprah like directed it or produced it,
I think
but also
so.
starred in it. But when I saw it on Broadway, it had Fantasia from American Idol. Yeah,
Oh, I bet that was good.
it was really good. It was like, 4 or 5 years after she won American Idol, but it was it was so amazing. I'll never forget that.
That
Going
must
to
have
it
been
and
really
seeing,
cool to see. And
yes.
this is like random connection, but it just makes me happy and I think it's so sweet and romantic. But Alice Walker wrote The Color Purple, and Tracy Chapman is one of my favorite singers. I love her voice, and I think she's so hot and just has the voice of an angel. Fast car singer. But they had a relationship for many years. They're not together anymore. But they
Oh,
talk about what a deep love they had, and oh, just to be a fly on the wall with them together,
yes. Oh,
these
I love
two
Tracy Chapman
sensitive
too.
souls.
Yes. The last book I wanted to bring up was this is also on the list of banned books. I think you've read this. I know I have. It's called Speak by Lori Halsey Anderson, and it was
Mm-hmm.
banned for quote unquote softcore pornography and glorifies drinking, cursing, and premarital sex.
Are
It,
you serious?
yes, this is a book about a high school student that stops talking after she's raped at a party. And I don't understand how they could ban it for glorifying premarital sex.
Or softcore pornography? Rape is not porn.
No,
That is terrible.
it is a good book. It is, I believe, in the young adult genre. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but it
I've
was,
seen it taught in high school classes.
yes, it is. It was a finalist for National Book Award. Um, and it is such a good book, and it just makes me angry that there are people out there, boards, like school boards that ban these books for these reasons when that's not even, have they read this book? Did they can say softcore pornography when in reality it's about a very traumatic experience that this girl goes through, that she's like ostracized by her classmates because of this thing that happened to her and she just stops speaking.
Right? It's like these people think that by banning these books, they're protecting their children. But newsflash, this is happening to your children. And if not your child, it's happening to your children's friends or the children in your neighborhood. And you're not protecting them. All you're doing is just prolonging their suffering because they don't feel like they can talk to adults about it. And they're
and
not
not
going to feel supported.
and not giving them the tools to learn how to speak up against these crimes that may happen, or how to deal with. the repercussions of being ostracized.
Mm-hmm.
And it just made me really sad to see that on this list because there were a lot of books that I really, really liked on this list, but that just makes me heartbroken that these things happen to kids that, like you said, that they could happen to your child, they could happen to somebody you love, and taking away this, where somebody could feel connected and seen and less alone and less
Mm-hmm.
scared and less hurt by the connection of this character.
That's terrible.
I
That's a
know.
good one. I'm glad you brought that up.
Which is another book I want to reread. There's a lot of books on this list I want to reread.
Yes, I think so too. The last book I had on my list that I remember being so controversial, and it's one that I have not read. I just remember hearing a lot about it when it came out. So, The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown came out in 2003 and was made into movies after that. But I remember it being so controversial. So it again, I haven't read it, so I can only give a brief synopsis. But basically, it sounds like it's a mystery thriller novel. It's fiction. Um, and it is a sequel to Angels and Demons, which I guess follows the same characters. But people were up in arms over it because in the book he insinuates that there's a possibility that Jesus Christ and Mary Magdalene had a child together and that their offspring moved to France and that it was tied in with art history like Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa. And I just found this pretty funny because it's like this book seemed to piss off religious people. It pissed off people in the historical realm because they said the history was all wrong, and it pissed off scientists because a lot of the science was incorrect. I'm like, it's fiction.
It it's not claiming to be anything that it's not. It's labeled as fiction because that's what it is. I've never read it either. I have seen Angels and Demons, the movie. I saw it in theaters, which was a very,
Oh.
very long, it was almost 15 years ago, um,
Mm-hmm.
when it was in theaters. So I don't really remember that much about it. But that's just hilarious that if people, I just don't understand how people can get so upset. If you don't like it, don't read it. You know,
Right.
like, that's my whole philosophy with a lot of things in life. Like, you don't have to get that upset about something.
No.
Oh, people are crazy. I don't understand people. There's something wrong.
Let's get mad about how many people die per day because they don't have clean drinking water, or how many children in America even don't have food to eat tonight. Or let's talk about police brutality. Like, you're gonna get mad at a book?
Yes, that's not even saying like, oh, I think I have proof that Jesus had a baby with Mary Mac. It's saying it is fiction.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even trying to pretend that it's anything but that.
No. Yeah,
That's
it's
so
so funny.
hilarious.
Makes me want to read it now,
I know, me too. I was just thinking that. I'm like, could I get through it? Is it my cup of tea? We'll
right?
see.
Well, it says mystery thriller.
Interesting. I'll have to see if the library has it because I don't know if I want to buy it.
I agree. You said you had a few random controversial pop culture moments.
I do. And this was a very big. I don't remember it happening, but I remember hearing a lot about it as I got older. But in 1997, Ellen DeGeneres came out on her sitcom.
Yes, I remember the grown-ups in our lives talking about that. That was big news.
Yes, very big news. And there's a lot of heat around Ellen DeGeneres now, but she was very ostracized for quite a while in Hollywood after that. Um, until she got her talk show and, you know, then brought a lot of people happiness. I'm not negating the claims of her being a not so nice person to work
Yeah.
for, but
We
it
yeah, we don't
it was
know.
very happy to watch. I felt a lot of happiness, and I'm glad she was able, even if it took time to recover from living her truth, because a lot of people didn't hire her after that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Very
then
true.
in 2003, the VMAs, the Britney Madonna Christina Aguilera kiss.
Yes.
It was, I remember this happening. It was a big deal. And I remember they cut away from Madonna kissing Christina Aguilera, so it's mainly known as the Britney Madonna kiss.
Well, she kissed, so Madonna was dressed in kind of like a masculine outfit almost, like that looked like a tux. And Christina Aguilera and Britney Spears both had on dresses that looked like wedding dresses. And she kissed Christina first. So it was quicker. And then she turned and kissed Britney, and it did seem longer.
It
But
did.
you're right. All the pictures they showed were of Britney and her
Yes.
in the tabloids. Yeah, that was huge because we were still a very homophobic country. And you can't show women making out on TV.
On broadcasted TV to where they, I mean, some things now have a delay so they can censor if somebody drops the F-bomb or
Mm-hmm.
things like that. But I think in 2003 they weren't doing it on a delay.
Man.
And then in 2009, also the VMAs, Kanye West interrupting Taylor Swift, that
Oh, that's my favorite.
Beyonce had the best, was it album or music video of all time?
Yeah, album.
Yes.
And I
Oh,
love how he kind of apologizes first. I don't mean to interrupt, but
yes, you do, or you wouldn't have just, one, I feel terrible for, because I would have just stood there too awkwardly.
yes. And she was young at this time, and he was a grown man,
In 2009, Taylor Swift was what, 20?
if that.
Yeah, 19 or 20, very young. Um, and oh, I feel so bad for Beyonce too.
Yeah, she looked
She looked very
embarrassed.
uncomfortable. And then
Oh,
the last one I was gonna bring up because I watched a documentary on this, um, in 2017, the Fire Festival.
what was that?
It was, oh, who did it? It was, um, so it was, uh, it says Fire Festival was a fraudulent luxury music festival founded by con artist Billy McFarland and rapper Ja Rule. It was created for the intent of promoting the company's Fire app for booking music talent. And so it was um, in the Bahamas, and they, all these really rich people flew to the Bahamas. More than 5,000, not even rich people, a lot of people, more than 5,000 people flew into this island that could not support any of it. Like, they didn't have hotels for all these people. They basically just set up like tents, and the irrigation like gave out. Like, they could not support all these people. And
Oh,
it was like, instead of luxury villas and gourmet meals for which festival attendees paid hundreds of dollars for, they received prepackaged sandwiches and FEMA tents as their accommodation.
oh my gosh. I remember seeing clips of something on the H3 podcast about Ja Rule saying, this is not fraud. We need to get on top of this. But I didn't know what it was from.
Yes,
So
so
what was that documentary?
it's on Hulu. It's called Fire Fraud, Fyre.
Oh my gosh, I need to watch that.
Yes, it was, and there's one on Netflix called The Greatest Party That Never Happened, but I saw the Hulu one. Um, But it says that in March 2018, McFarland pleaded guilty to one count of wire fraud to defraud investors and ticket holders, and a second count to defraud a ticket vendor that occurred while out on bail. He was sentenced to 6 years in prison and ordered to forfeit 26 million US dollars. The organizers
That's
became
crazy.
subject of at least 8 lawsuits, several seeking class action status, and one seeking more than 100 million in damages.
Well, the next time I'm sitting around listening to music from the early 2000s and wondering whatever happened to Ja Rule, now I know. Now I know.
Oh, I know.
Wow.
Even like Kendall Jenner was paid to promote it on Instagram. Yeah, it
Dang.
was like really big and it was a big fail.
That's hilarious.
And these poor people in the Bahamas that never got paid for the work that they did.
Oh,
Oh,
that's terrible.
yes.
And I feel bad for the people who lived there too.
Hmm.
The irrigation thing is crazy. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to watch that documentary.
Yes.
Well, I'm sending you some pictures because the last thing I wanted to bring up was controversial outfits. With all the award ceremonies and things that celebrities participate in, like now it's the Met Gala, right? It's almost as if celebrities are trying to outdo each other with their outrageous outfits and to get in the press. But throughout history, there are definitely some outfits that have stood out and gotten a lot of critique or a lot of press. Some of them, I think, just like the music and books and television we were talking about wouldn't be controversial if it was today, but for the time they were. So one of the first ones that came to my mind was Jennifer Lopez's 2000 Grammys dress.
The green Versace dress.
Yes, the iconic green dress. So looking at it, it is very revealing. The bottom is sort of see-through, like you can see her legs, even though it's long. Um, and it's very deeply cut, like it goes below her belly button. And she must have had those boobs taped because it's a huge v-neck and her boobs aren't popping out. It's even long sleeve.
I was just thinking that about the long sleeves. I'm like, oh, well, it hits the floor like a gown should. And it's long sleeve, but there's so much skin showing because the sleeves are sheer, like the
Mm-hmm.
skirt of the dress are sheer. It kind of looks almost like um a onesie. Oh, what do they call those now? Like a bodysuit, not a
Mm-hmm.
onesie. I'm old. It almost looks like a bodysuit because it does look like the crotch is covered fully by the
Yeah.
green fabric. But yeah, that was a very big deal in 2000.
Oh, yeah. People were upset about it. I mean, other people loved it. Some people were very upset about it. But you can't deny it made an impact because here we are 23 years later still talking about it.
I know.
And also, I'm not offended by it. Like, I look at it and I think she looks good.
There are things I'm more offended by than that.
Mm-hmm. And shoot, if I had that body, I would want to show it off too. Why work out so much and eat so healthy to wear sweats?
I know. She looks so good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she still does, but you can't beat 2000's J-Lo.
Right. Well, the next one that comes to mind was in 2010, the VMAs, Lady Gaga's meat dress.
Ugh. I just can't. I mean, yes, it's a statement. I don't know what statement it's making besides gross. Because
When I saw this back in 2010, I remember thinking like it was just for attention. It was just to get talked about, and I do think it's disgusting.
I don't even like touching raw meat. I can't imagine wearing it on my body.
I
I heard that it
know.
started stinking because it's raw meat.
I'm sure it did. Even fresh raw meat, especially beef, which it looks like it was because it's cut, it would need to be cut so thin so it wasn't super heavy. It just has that metallic, almost rotten smell. Like
Yes,
dead. It's dead.
because I heard like she had to get out of it right away so they could like preserve it because it already started to rot.
Yeah.
Ugh. And
It's
there's like a piece of meat in her hair. I mean, that's probably a wig, but still, it's touching her forehead. Ugh, don't come at
yeah.
me with raw meat to my face.
And it's tied to her shoes. They couldn't even make shoes out of it without tying it. It looks like the same string that butchers use to tie
It
meat.
does. I was gonna say it looks like a fucking pork roast.
And what's the statement? I'm a piece of meat?
I guess.
Like, is that empowering?
It's not for people to not eat meat, that's for sure.
Mm,
Like you can't eat it, but I'm gonna wear it.
ugh.
Yuck.
Yeah, and it's not even well made. Like, it's literally, you can see on her hip, it's not even covered. Like, it was falling off.
You're right. Like, but also it's like it's flesh. It's like gravity is pulling it apart.
I feel like Project Runway could do it better.
Yes,
Or RuPaul's Drag Race.
I've been watching a lot of Project Runway on I can't remember Freevee, I think has it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I started season one, and oh, let me tell you, the 2005 fashions. You don't think it's that much different till you see it.
It's so true. Very
Ugh,
true. Well, my next one's from 2014, and to me personally, I don't think this one's that controversial. But people were very upset about it and talking about it a lot. In 2014, Rihanna wore this dress to the Fashion Designers of America Awards. And it was very sheer. If you zoom in, you can totally see her nips. She's not wearing a bra. She has like this pink faux fur stole, which I'm sure she covered her nipples at some points, but in many pictures it's not. Again, floor length, very blingy. So I feel like the shininess from the crystals kind of masks the nudity a little bit. And you can see she's wearing tiny nude color panties underneath it, but you can see everything.
I like it. It looks like that she's the billboard or whatever she's standing in front of on the red carpet says it was sponsored by Swaro I can't say it.
Oh, you're
Swavars.
right.
How do you say that?
Swarovski.
Yes, I can't do all those letters together, but I think it might be those crystals in this gown.
You're
It's
right.
really pretty.
Swarovski has a patent because I used to be obsessed with their stuff and I still have some of their figurines, but they have a patent on lead crystal. So their stuff really is shinier than other crystals. They
Yes,
they have a patent on this certain chemical treatment for it that makes it basically give off rainbows. It's beautiful.
it
And
is.
that dress is very, I think it's very pretty.
I think Swarovski, I can't say it still. I think sometimes they're prettier than real diamonds.
Mm-hmm. They keep their shine longer and um you can get more for the same amount of money that's way better clarity.
Yeah.
Like $1,000 of Swarovski crystal jewelry is going to be way bigger than $1,000 diamond and it's gonna be shinier. But
Ugh.
yeah, so people were up in arms about that. This one I do, I can totally see why it's controversial. And I don't even know who this lady is. Joy Villa. Have you ever heard of her?
No, I was wondering who that was too.
So I guess we should Google it. I should have done this yesterday to see who she is. But Joy Villa is an American singer, songwriter, actress, and YouTuber. She is known for her outspoken support of former United States President Donald Trump and various conservative and right wing political and social causes, which I don't think your race should necessarily determine your political stance, but she looks biracial. She's a person of color. And I'm like, Donald Trump doesn't care about you. George Bush does not care about black people. But she, in the 2019 Grammys, sorry, that's a deep cut if you didn't watch our 2000s episode and Kanye said that.
Yes, he did.
But Joy Villa wore a long white dress to the 2019 Grammys that said "Build the Wall" on the back
Which I do believe that style is a nod to Pink Floyd's album The Wall.
because of the bricks.
Yeah.
Yeah, but her purse says "Make America Great
No,
Again."
and that's what I was gonna say is that it was definitely under that agenda because of that Trump was pushing at that time.
I didn't
Um,
notice that the collar of the dress is barbed wire.
oh my gosh. Oh, yes,
I mean,
because
to each their own. I
yeah,
just don't think the Grammys is a
the
place for
place.
politics.
No, because it says Villa wore a reflective silver dress with a black outline of bricks around, except in an area that said "Build the Wall" spelled out in red in a large section of the backside garment, barring the font of Pink Floyd's The Wall. That's where I got that from. So it is the same font from The Wall.
Oh,
Um,
so there's a Grammys connection.
yes, but her purse also does say "Make America Great Again," so it is very political.
Oh, and then my last controversial outfit isn't a total outfit, um, but I do think it's creepy and worth mentioning that Angelina Jolie and Billy Bob Thornton dated briefly, and in 2008, they went to an event wearing matching necklaces, which they told everybody contained each other's blood.
I remember that. Um, it's still creepy and gross, but this is what I think they were out there doing something, being weirdos, showing their love. I think it's weird that Megan Fox gave MGK a necklace with her blood in it because that's just copying.
I agree.
Like, I have a whole lot to say about MGK and Megan Fox. They want to be Sid and Nancy, they're not. Like,
Mm-mm.
come on, they're not. Like, Sid and Nancy were so toxic and outrageous and crazy, and MGK thinks he's that. He's not. Um, and Megan Fox is just along for the ride. Um,
Are they still together? Because
uh,
I recently saw it seemed like he had cheated on her or something. And she had in this and then she ended up making her Instagram. I don't know if she permanently deleted it.
it says they are currently off, but still texting each other. A source told us last week that it would take a lot for Fox and Kelly to work things out. Megan isn't sure where things stand with Colson, which is Machine Gun Kelly's real name. Um, and it's complicated at the moment, the insider said, and that was on March 22nd.
They are so embarrassing.
They are, and I know that
She's older than us.
and his daughter is a teenager. Like,
Really?
I think she's 13, 12 or 13. I would be embarrassed if I
Dang.
was acting that way in public for all of my, for everyone to see that my son goes to school with.
Oh yeah, Angelina did it first for sure. And Billy Bob Thornton is still talking about it. I don't know if he's trying to stay relevant, but he says that he's still friends with Angelina Jolie and that the press blew the necklace thing out of proportion. He said by the time it came out in the press, it sounded like we were wearing a bucket of blood around our necks. It certainly wasn't a bucket, but it was still a little strange. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. They said they pricked each other's fingers and they put the blood in the necklace and they rubbed their blood on the necklaces and then they went out and wore it. Like, why?
And why tell anybody?
For, like you said, for attention.
Yeah, cause,
That's the only.
cause I
Nobody would have known. They look like
no,
regular silver necklaces.
exactly. Because if you want a piece of somebody that you love, a piece of hair, blood, sure, whatever, you can do that. You don't have to tell everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I have a necklace that's very special to me, and it just looks like a normal necklace.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be commented on by everybody. If somebody asks, I tell them, but it's just, I think that they wanted the attention, and then for him to say that it was blown out of proportion,
Right.
if you didn't want the attention, you wouldn't have said it. You wouldn't have told the
No.
story of how you did it.
Mm-hmm.
And she's wearing white too.
Ugh.
So I couldn't imagine rubbing the blood. And he's wearing light gray, so it had to have dried.
That's what I was thinking. And it sounds like there might have been blood inside it too, because it looks like the kind of necklace, the old kind that you could put perfume in, you know?
Yeah, I think that is. And even like, uh, I guess as somebody that you can get quite a bit of blood out of a finger by just squeezing it. So, I mean, maybe it could be full, but just one drop of blood, it would probably like
Right.
evaporate.
Yeah. It's so silly.
Ugh,
But whatever.
whatever.
People are still talking about it, so they got
I
their
know.
attention for sure.
I think Billy Bob Thornton is funny though.
Yeah, he is.
He's been in some good
I,
movies.
I wouldn't let him touch me though.
No. Mm-mm. He kind of reminds me of like, I don't know, icky white man, like Kid Rock.
Oh my gosh.
Like, just icky and like probably smells like chicken grease.
Ugh. I've seen Kid Rock's been in the news again lately with some of his TikToks and shooting down Budweiser cans because of their newest campaign. And he's just so gross. Kid
He's
Rock
just
is
trying to
so
stay
gross.
relevant. Like, he's
Mm-hmm.
not, he had like what, two hits in the 90s?
Yeah, pretty much.
And he's still trying to ride that fame. He actually, I was talking to a coworker about this. My coworker was going to see him at the North Dakota State Fair, and the Kid Rock canceled because of he didn't believe in like the COVID precautions.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, or
I
something to that effect. But
the North Dakota State Fair. Let that sink in.
I know. I saw that New Kids on the Block, they're doing a state fair tour.
Wow. I mean, I've gone to some good concerts at fairs, and it doesn't mean that they're not popular singers, but it's just not the same as selling out a stadium.
Yeah, or even a private venue
Mm-hmm.
instead of people just walking around at the fair. That's what I think about it. Like even if it's a smaller venue, like I saw Louis Tomlinson in a small venue, but at least he was headlining and it wasn't the fair headlining.
Yeah.
Because that's what
But,
it is. It's X, Y, and Z at the whatever state fair.
I do look forward to getting older and more of these artists who we really want to see will be in those places and they'll be more affordable to go watch and enjoy.
Yeah. And parking's pretty good at a state fair.
True.
Some concerts, man, I'm just like, what the hell?
Well, this was fun.
Yes, I had so much fun wrapping up these controversies with you, even though
Me
some
too.
of them I don't think are that controversial, or the fact that people made them controversial is what's controversial to me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's always so much fun.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed listening and maybe it will encourage you to read some of these controversial books or TV shows or music. I
Or
know
what?
I was
Yeah.
getting into Game of Thrones after we talked about it last week. I forgot how good it is.
Uh, it is really good. I should rewatch it. I am still watching what I always watch, Band of Brothers, because that's comforting. My husband says, I don't understand why you either fall asleep to Unsolved Mysteries or Band of Brothers. You crazy person.
Love it.
I said, I just, I just love it. I can't explain it. I don't want to. I just want to like it, and that's it.
That's all right. Do your thing.
Yes.
Well, thank you for listening this week and be sure to join us next week for another episode of All the Tea We Cannot Sip.
Bye bye.
Bye.